Hello there, everyone. An understanding of the accurate and effective use of English is important not only as a means of communication but also as a vital element of creative thought. Hello there, it's Tuesday. It's oral communication in context. I am Tutor Irene and I will be your E2Li tutor for oral communication in context. But wait, there's more, dear viewers, or dear seniors. Did you know that we have an act that was established last June 6, 1997? This is an act declaring every second Sunday of December as the National Broadcasting or National Children's Broadcasting Day. And so for this session, we have our guests, mini-me tutors. Meet our E2Li oral communication and context mini-me tutors. We have mini-me tutor Alan and mini-me tutor Sam. Hello there, tutor Alan and tutor Sam. How are you?
Hi there, Tutor
Hello,
Irene.
Shooter Irene.
Hello there. I'm very happy to be with you this afternoon. And of course, we are also very happy to see our seniors, our student viewers who are tuning in right now via Facebook live stream and of
Live.
course YouTube live stream of DepEd EdTech unit page. Let's try to see who are our viewers now. We have here, can you share Tutor Allen and Tutor Sam, our viewers right now in our live stream?
Yes, Tutor Irene. We have Dimakali Elaine Jane, 12 Joshua from Santa Maria National High School.
Hi
We
there,
also
Elaine
have here
Jane.
we also have here Jenny Yabut watching us with her friends Geraldine, David, Isip, Stephanie Manansala de Guzman, Gia Manansala, Reyes, Abigail Sula, and Rafael Fay, and Ibay Nata.
Hello there. Hi, Jaya Kanama, watching from City of Bogo Science and Arts Academy, Bogo City Division. Good afternoon, my dear. I think we also have others. We have here Jenny Manalo Muli from 12 ABM Abraham, watching from Bekuran High School. Who else, Tutor Allen?
So you have also here Janvier Mandawi Gomez from CBSAA STEM 11 Rubidium.
All right. I think we have other viewers who are watching us right now, Tutor Sam.
We also have here Edmar J. Antonio from Parañaque Science High School. He would like to shout out to Miss Irene and, of course, to yours truly, uh,
Hi,
his best
Edmar.
friend.
Hi. Hi, Rizanet Bautista watching from Santa Maria High School. We also have here from, uh, again, Bogo Science and Arts Academy, Carl, I think James Maswangat. Ayan, good afternoon. We are very happy to be with you this afternoon. Alan and Sam, would you please introduce yourself to our viewers this afternoon?
Yes, we are gladly to do so. So, hi there, viewers. I'm Almark Ardesus from Naga City Science High School, SDO Naga City, Camarines Sur.
Good
Yes, Tutor
afternoon
Sam.
to all our viewers out there. I am Samantha Kate Bisalenga from Parañaque Science High School, SDO, Parañaque City.
I'm very happy again to be with you, Alan and Sam, and of course, our dear student viewers this afternoon. So, if you will notice, Shooter Nova and Shooter Alvin is not around, but of course, we are very much excited because they are also tuning here in our live stream because this afternoon we have lots of things to discuss, very exciting topic, and of course, very helpful for senior high school students just like you. But before we proceed to our lesson this afternoon, let's first have a recap. Alan and Sam, right? Last week, quarter to week 4, we discussed principles of effective speech writing with focus on duration and word choice. Of course, together with Tutor Nova and Tutor Alvin. Now, how about you, Tutor Allen and Tutor Sam? Why do you think duration and word choice is important in writing a speech?
For me, it is important because the attention span of the audience is very short, especially if this very formal event.
Yes, I agree with you. How about you, Chutter Sam?
I think that in preparing our speech, we must be aware of the duration of our speech because we should be able to deliver the message of our speech appropriately and clearly to our audience.
Absolutely. Thank you, Alan and Sam. For our dear viewers, student viewers here in our oral com session, duration and word choice really are important principles in writing a speech. Because, of course, as mentioned by Tutor Allen, you'll never know the attention span of your audience. And so, proper duration and, of course, correct and appropriate word choice are necessary. And with that, we would also like to recognize our oral amazing student that was very active last meeting together with Tutor Nova and Tutor Alvin. And with that, our oral amazing student for week 4 is no other than, oh, by the way, this amazing or oral amazing student will also receive 100 pesos worth of GCash. And without further ado, let's meet our oral amazing student for week 4. We have
Miss Eloise Marie Auman, congratulations!
From City of Bogo Science and Arts Academy, SDO, Bogo City.
congratulations, Alois, and we are very much
Congratulations.
happy that you are our oral amazing student. Now, for our dearest student viewers, maybe this week is your chance to be featured as our oral amazing student. So please be active, type in or key in your answers whenever we have questions, and you'll never know, right? Tutor Sam and Tutor Allen, they may be, or you
Yes.
may be, the
Yes.
next oral
Next
amazing
amazing
student
student.
that will be featured in our next episode. By the way, Tutor Alan and Tutor Sam, this is also the last week, right? For your
Yes.
classes for this year,
After this,
2021.
we see next year, no?
Yes, we
Yes,
will
this is
meet
the last
Yes.
week
next
for
year
this
now.
year, academic year.
So, how many more days? Like 3 more days, and then you're on your Christmas break. Are you
Literally,
excited?
yes. Yes,
Of course,
definitely.
Miss Irene.
I'm excited as well, but let's keep that excitement hanging because, again, as mentioned, we have a very nice topic to be discussed this afternoon. So, again, we are now on week 5 of quarter 2 oral communication. We are done with the following topics. Will you share what topics are already done, Tutor Allen and Tutor Sam?
Yes, we are done with week 1 or the types of communicative strategies.
For the second week, we discussed understanding speech context, speech style, speech act, and communicative strategy.
For week 3, we also understand the principles of effective speech writing, particularly the audience profile and logical organization.
And for the fourth week, we tackled the principles of effective speech writing and focus of duration and word choice.
And now, for this session, we will be having or we will tackle the last principle of effective speech writing, which is grammatical correctness. And now, what do we need to know for our session? Will you please share it, Tutor Allen and Tutor Sam?
Sure. So, at the end of this tutorial, we are to identify the principles of effective speech delivery and
Also, we should be able to analyze the importance of grammatical correctness as principles to consider in delivering a speech.
So, buckle up and ready yourself for a new learning experience. Let's get the ball rolling. Tutor Allen and Tutor Sam, and our dearest oral amazing students. Grammatical correctness in writing is a critical component in any composition, thus, must be observed strictly and consistently for clear and better understanding of the message being conveyed. Do you agree with that, Tutor Allen and Tutor Sam?
yes,
Yes,
definitely.
miss.
That's why, right, when you're writing a speech, you are expected to have an error free speech. But do we really have, or do we really experience having an error free speech? How about you, Sam and Alan?
Miss,
For
in
me,
my opinion, I think the grammatical errors are truly inevitable, but I think that we can avoid these by specific processes and methods in checking our speech.
I totally agree,
That's
Tutor Sam.
right. Now let's see what our topic will be all about, given the fact that we are to focus on the grammatical correctness in speech writing. Now, I want you to take a look at these signages. So, for our dear student viewers, take a look at these signages and tell me, or tell us, what can you say about them? All right, this door is alarmed.
Come on.
How about the second image, Alan?
Illegally parked cars will be fine.
And the third, Tutor Sam?
Tables are for eating customers only, no loitering.
Now, what can you say about our images, our dear student viewers? Have you seen one, or do you frequently see signages like those?
Sure. Yeah, we are waiting for the comments of our viewers.
But you know what? I already experienced seeing signages like this, right? I
Yes,
think
sabi nga,
in one of the fast food chains that I have eaten, okay, or we ate in that fast food restaurant, and then we saw like a similar signage like that. How about you two, Tutor Alan and Tutor Sam?
yes, the signages are really frequent in various places.
Now let's try to see. No, I'm really
I've
actually
also seen
smiling with
similar
the images. Yes, go ahead, Sam. Tutor
Good job.
Sam.
I've seen similar signages with these examples, but I think that some of these signages, or maybe all of these signages that are presented here in our screen, have some errors, right, Miss Irene?
I really
Yes.
agree with you, Tutor Sam. But we have here Jezreel S. Vertumbaga. She said, I often saw signages like these. So it's not only us, but also our student viewers who frequently see or experience this kind of signages. Now let's take a look at the first one. This door is
Oh,
alarmed. What can you say about this signage? Right? This door is alarmed. You know, this picture really shows hilarious error. Why? For example, in this picture, the door is alarmed. It gives what? It gives double
double
meaning.
meaning.
Right? For example, this door is alarmed. It gives us the funny idea that the door is really feeling alarmed. On the other hand, the other meaning would say that
Alarmed.
an alarm will sound when the door is open, right? How about this one? Illegally parked cars will be fined. What can you say about this signage? Shooter Sam said a while ago there is like a grammatical error
Yes,
that can
definitely
be
there is.
found. What can you say about this one? Okay, illegally
I
parked
think that
cars will
in
be fined.
here, the word I think that in here the word fine is used incorrectly
Correctly.
because when
Yes.
are illegally parked cars fine, right?
Yes. So I think
Yes.
the word fine is used in the opposite way, right? Instead of being fined, it sounds like parking or illegally parking cars will will be just fine. So this one is incorrect or incorrectly written. How about the third signage, Tutor Allen?
Tables are for eating customers only, so it gives hilarious interpretations and no loitering. There is no such thing as eating customers.
Right, because it sounds like the term for cannibalism, right? So
Yes.
hilarious interpretations can be given or can be made out of this image. So I think some restaurants are really using this kind of signage to note that the tables or even the restrooms are for their customers only. However, the term eating customers here is used in inappropriate way, right?
Before we proceed, there is a notable comment on the comment
Yes.
section from Mark Platoon. Grammatically correctness of the speech can build the speaker's credibility. I totally agree with you.
I agree with you, my dear. Indeed, when you are or when you write a speech or even when you write a signage with error-free grammar, it gives you a good credibility and the opposite if you commit an error, right?
Yes. There's another comment from Daniela Denise Manalili. Those signages can confuse people. Definitely.
I agree. And it gives double meaning just like the first one. Different interpretations and double meaning. So, as you can see, those examples remind us that if grammar error can be committed in simple signages like those, it's also inevitable for us to commit grammar errors in our speech or in speech writing, right? That's why
Yes.
we are here to discuss grammar correctness in speech writing.
The use of correct grammar when you give a speech is important to prevent misunderstanding and misinterpretation.
That's correct because when you use correct grammar, it means you're also planning your speech, you're also reviewing and previewing your speech. Now, in writing a speech, there are many errors that can be committed. That's why it's important for us to note the proper use of correct grammar. I remember
Correctness and clarity
correct.
Correctness and clarity.
are essential to good writing.
Yes, that's correct. So remember that, our dear student viewers, that when you write a speech, what are essentials are we have correctness and clarity as part of the essential principles to remember. Now, there are common confusions in writing, Tutor Sam and Tutor Allen, and
Yes.
these include the
Problem.
following. Will
Yeah.
you share?
Problems. Yes. Number one is the problems with subject and verb agreement.
The second one is consistency of verb tense.
The third one is the tense, fragments, and run-ons.
And lastly, we have comma splices.
Now, for today, we will revisit those common errors in speech writing that may hinder the clarity of your speech. Now, ever thought of this? I know sometimes the verb is supposed to end with S, and sometimes it isn't, but I always get confused. Have you experienced this, Tutor Sam and Tutor Allen?
Yes,
Yes,
for
tutor
sure.
Irene.
Yes.
This kind of confusion has something to do with your understanding of what subject verb agreement is. In any sentence, the subject and the verb must match or agree in number. That's a general rule in subject and verb agreement. Remember, if the subject is singular, your verb must also be
Singular.
Singular.
correct. And when your subject is plural, your verb must also be.
Plural.
Plural.
That's again is the golden rule in subject and verb agreement.
Agreement.
Now, according to Susan Anker in her book Real Writing with Readings, when you want to know subject and verb agreement errors, you have to look for 5 trouble spots that often signal these problems. And now, what are those 5 trouble spots? Will you share, Tutor Sam and Tutor Allen?
Yes, the first one is the verb is a form of be, have, or do.
Next, we have words that come between the subject and the verb.
The third one is the sentence has a compound subject.
The fourth trouble spot that we have is the subject is an indefinite pronoun.
And the last one is the verb comes before the subject.
So those really are trouble spots in writing, Tutor Sam and Tutor Allen. Now for the first one, the verbs be, have, and do not follow the rules for forming singular and plural forms because they are irregular verbs. Now to our oral comazing students, you may follow these find and fix strategy to make a subject and verb agree when you find this kind of trouble spot. So, first, in finding and fixing problems with subject and verb agreement, especially with verbs or with the presence of be, have, or do, this is what you need to do. First is to find your subject. Here we have an example. I am is are a believer of second chances. So the first thing that you need to do, Tutor Sam and Tutor Allen, is to find your subject. And then what is the next one?
The next one is to ask, is the subject in the first, second, or third person? In this case, the subject I is in the first person.
It's correct. And what is the third strategy, Tutor Sam?
The third one is to ask again whether the subject is in singular or plural form. And in our statement, the subject is in singular form.
So take note of that, our dear student viewers. You first need to find your subject, ask whether it's in the first, second, or third person, and then ask whether the subject is singular or plural. And that's the time that you have to analyze the correct verb that you have to use. And for this one, after finding and asking several questions, you now have to fix your error. Choose the verb by matching it to the form of the subject. So you have their first person and singular. Therefore, the correct verb here is am.
Yeah,
So it is I am a believer of second
second
chances.
chances.
Quite easy, right? Now
Yes.
let's move on. How about this one? I took my bag of cookies and threw it over the table. So if you can see here, we are now on the second trouble spot, and that is the presence of words that coming in between your subject and your verb. So here we have prepositional phrase, and what could that be, Shooter Sam?
In the given statement, the prepositional phrases that we have are of cookies and over the table.
Right. So when we say of cookies and over the table, you call them prepositional phrase.
Phrase.
And whenever you encounter this type of trouble spot, do not worry because we have a perfect strategy for you to use and to correct your error. So another one, before we proceed to the fix and find strategy, aside from prepositional phrase, we also have what we call dependent clause. Like in this example, Ruel, whose hand was injured, needs to have physical therapy. So Tutor Sam and Tutor Allen, right? The dependent clause here is the phrase or the clause whose hand was
Was injured.
injured. So we call the words that come between the subject and the verb as either prepositional phrase or dependent
Dependent
clause.
clause.
Now, if we are to find and fix this problem, here is what you need to do. So, for example, here we have two examples, one with a prepositional phrase, the other one with dependent clause. People from all parts of our society face or faces many challenges. Here we have the presence of prepositional phrase. On the next one, we have dependent clause. Will you please read the sample sentence, Tutor Allen?
People who work in the kitchen has or have to report to work at 6 a.m.
Now, how can we correct this one, Tutor Sam?
First, we must find the subject in the sentence. So in the two cases that we have, the subject for the first statement is people, and the subject for the second statement is people as well.
And then, after finding the subject, what do you need to do, Tutor Allen?
After finding the subject, you cross out any prepositional phrase or dependent clause that follows the subject.
That's correct. And lastly, ask, is the subject singular or plural? Now, if you have answered this one, you can now fix the error. So the last one would be choose the form of the verb that matches the subject. Therefore, the words that come between your subject and the verb, they do not really matter. They are just interfering with your real subject. So since Tutor Sam mentioned that our real subject in the two examples here is the word people, and if you answer the question, is it singular or plural? You have the answer plural. Therefore, your subject must also be, or your verb must also be in plural form. So, what are the correct verbs, Tutor Sam and Tutor Allen?
The correct verb for the first
For the first
example is the face. People from all parts of the society face many challenges. Yes, Tutor Sam?
and and for the second statement, the sentence should be people who work in the kitchen have to report to work at 6 a.m.
Very nice. Now, next trouble spot is the presence, or when the subject has, or when the sentence rather has compound subject. Now,
Subject.
what is a compound subject, Tutor Allen?
Compound subject is two or more subjects joined by and, or nor. If two subjects are joined by and, they combine to become a plural subject. Thus, the verb must be plural too.
Okay. In addition to that, well, you're right, Tutor Allen. In addition to that, if two subjects are separated by or nor, they are not combined, right? In this case, the verb should agree with whichever subject is closer or near to it. Okay? Now, so if you are to find and fix this problem to make the subjects and verbs agree, here is what you need to do. Will you share it to us, Tutor Sam?
So the first step to find the problem is to find the word between the subjects. And in our given example, the word between the subject is the word or.
And
Next
what is the
is
next step?
to ask, is the subject that is closer to the verb singular or plural? So the closer subject is fruits. Is this plural or singular? Of course it is plural.
And the next step is to confirm whether the word or the subject that is closer to the verb is singular or plural. And since Tutor Allen mentioned that the word is really plural, it's now easy for you to identify the verb that must be used. And to fix it, choose the verb form that agrees with the subject that is closer to the verb. And again, what is the word that is closer to the verb here? Tutor Sam?
Fresh fruits,
Fresh fruits. And fresh fruits here is in plural form. So
plural
your
form.
verb must also be in plural. Very nice. Next one. Our next trouble spot is the presence of indefinite pronouns. Now, will you please share to us what an indefinite pronoun is, Tutor Allen? The first one?
Yes, so indefinite pronoun replace a general person or general group of people, place, or thing. Yes, Tutor Sam?
Indefinite pronouns are often singular, though there are some exceptions.
All right. Now let's see the presence of an indefinite pronoun in a sentence and how can we fix or even find the error and correct it. Here we have an example sentence. One of your friends lives or lived next door to the village cafe. So, what you need to do is first find your subject and you have there the indefinite pronoun one, right? And then you have to cross out any prepositional phrase or dependent clause that follows the subject. Remember, in our first or in our second trouble spot, prepositional phrase and or dependent clause are just interference or they just interfere in your real subject. And here, ask is the subject singular or plural. And fix it by choosing the verb form that agrees with the subject. So now what is our fixed sentence, Tutor Sam?
Our fixed sentence will be one of your friends lives next door to the village cafe.
There you have it. Now we are down to our last trouble spot in subject and verb agreement, and that is
The verb comes before the subject.
that's correct. Now, when you encounter this type of trouble spot, do not worry, our dear student viewers, because we have a way on how to fix this. So, say for example, in this sentence or question, will you please read it? The two of them, Tutor Sam.
The first one is where is or are the love? And next we have here is or are the keys to the building.
If we are to look at our examples here, we have one a question and the other one is a statement. Now, how can we find and fix the error here, Tutor Allen?
So the first thing to do is to turn the question into statement. So for example, love is or are everywhere. Like that. The next thing is if the sentence begins with here or there, turn it around. For example, uh, here is or are the keys to the building.
Right.
Or where are the
And
keys to
then,
the building? Yeah. And then identify the subject in the new sentence. For the first new sentence, we have love is or are everywhere is. That is love uh, placed as singular
yes,
and
so you
keys
have
as
there.
plural.
Thank you, Tutor Allen. Now take note, our dear student viewers, that if you are to fix or find the error in these types or these examples, first, if your sentence is in a form of a question, just like what Tutor Allen said, turn the question into a statement. Now, if the sentence begins with here or there, another strategy is to turn it around and then identify your subject in your new sentence. So here, our first example, where is or are the love? You turn the question into a statement, it becomes the love is or are. And here, the correct answer is because what is your subject? Tutor Sam?
The subject in the first statement is love, which is singular.
You're correct, Tutor Sam. And in our next example, here is or here are the keys to the building. What you need to do, you turn it around. So the keys to the building blank here. So the correct answer or what is your subject here, our dearest student viewers? Let's see. What is your subject here? The keys to the building blank here. What do you think is your subject? How about you, Tutor Allen?
The subject for the second statement is the keys.
You're correct. So the keys or keys here or the word keys is your subject and that is either singular or plural. Tutor Allen.
It is definitely a plural one.
Very good. So your subject here is in plural form. Therefore, your verb must also be in plural. Yes, thank you, Daniela, Denise, Manalili, Keys, Jenny, Keys, Rose, M, the
M.
Keys. Ayan. Thank you very much, our dear student viewers.
Also to Marvin Lacap.
Yes. Thank you very much. Now, aside from the trouble spots in subject and verb agreement, another common error here, Tutor Allen and Tutor Sam, ito I think you often or we often commit this one, is error in the consistency
Consistency.
of
Verb
verb tense.
tense.
Have you experienced
Verb
having
tense.
an error on this?
Yes.
Okay, to make it
Yes,
more
Tutor Irene.
specific, Tutor Sam and Tutor Allen, let's identify or let's see what really an error in the consistency of verb is. Okay. So will you please read this for us, Tutor Sam?
Consistency of verb tense. This means that all actions in a sentence that happen or happen at the same time are in the same tense.
So this really is a common error in writing. So simply, as what Tutor Sam mentioned, if all the actions happen in the present tense, or if it happens all the time, use the present tense for all the verbs in the sentence. Now it's the other way around. Let's say, for example, if the action happened in the past, then use the past tense in all the verbs in the sentence. So just like this one. Here we have an example. Will you please read it to us, Tutor Allen?
Yes, so the movie started just as we take our seats. So here we can see the
So for our student viewers, yes, go ahead, Tutor Allen.
inconsistency of using past tense. For the second one, it is a present one or the present tense. Here
Okay,
we
so
can
if
see
you
the
can see,
discrepancy.
yes, a discrepancy or inconsistency, right? If our dear student viewers will try to analyze this example, we could say that the actions both happened at the same time. However, if you will try and look at the verb tense, they are in a different verb tense. The first one, may I see our student viewers? The first verb here is started. Now, in what verb tense can we qualify the word started? What is the tense of this verb? Started? What is the tense of this verb? Will you please help our other student viewers, Tutor Sam?
The tense of the verb
The
started
verb,
in the sentence is in past tense. There
Yes.
we have an
yes.
answer
So
from Rafael Fe Ibay Nota, which is past.
very good. You're correct. The tense of the verb is in the
Also
past.
from
How about
Cavite
our
Antonio.
next verb? Yes. Thank you very much, our dear student viewers. How about the word take? In what verb tense is the verb take? Okay. So if started is in the past, how about the verb take? Take is in the, yes, you're
Press.
correct. Rafael Fei by nota is in the present tense. So
Tense.
here in this example, there is inconsistency of verb tense. So how can we correct this one? So instead, we may say, the movie starts just as we take our seats. Here we are trying to correct the consistency of verb tense by using present tense in all verbs in the sentence. Or you may use the past tense. So the movie started just as we took our seats.
Seats.
Here, both are now consistent in the verb tense. So when you edit your speech or when you're writing a speech, make sure to look for errors in your consistency. You might actually commit this one or unconsciously commit this kind of error. Okay? Now, let's proceed to the next common error in writing a speech. So we have here the common presence of fragment. Okay, we also call fragment as incomplete sentence or
Sentences.
incomplete sentences. Why is that so? Tutor Allen?
So a fragment is a group of words that is missing parts of a complete sentence.
So if you are trying to look for fragment in your sentence, might as well check if there is a group of words that is missing or that is part of a complete sentence but has incomplete thought. So we call them, or some fragments are called grammatical fragments. Now, for grammatical fragments, here are some examples. Although he had been well recommended by his colleagues, that is a perfect example of a grammatical fragment. Another one here, suffering from increasingly poor eyesight. Now, we call them grammatical fragments, and those can be results of carelessness in writing. Now, if you are not careful to have both a subject and a predicate in your sentences and to express a complete thought, you may write sentence fragments instead of complete sentences, right? Now, aside from grammatical fragments, we also have stylistic fragments. Will you please share to us stylistic fragments, Tutor Allen?
Yes, so stylistic fragments, if this is kind of a fragment, is common occurrence in the writing of some of the best authors. So here,
Yes.
these are fragments that at one reading can be classified as sentences, but they are really that stylish to be one.
Just
For
like
example,
our example on the screen, right? So, from The Red Badge of Courage by Stephen Crane, the blue haze of evening was upon the field. Lines of the forest with long purple shadows, one cloud along the western sky partly smothering the red, is an example of stylistic fragment. We also have comma splice, right? Which is also a common error in writing. And this is an example of a comma splice. Will you please read it to us, Tutor Sam?
Our example here is storytelling is an art as old as humankind. Currently, there seems to be a renaissance in the art after years of neglect.
Okay. So here in our example, storytelling is an art as old as humankind. Currently, there seems to be a renaissance in the art after years of neglect. When we say comma splice, for dear student viewers, it comes from the idea of splicing or merging two independent clauses or complete sentences by only a comma. So if you will try to analyze our example here on your screen, you have there two complete ideas or two independent clauses, but then they are merged using a comma, and you call it a comma splice. Now, another common error is run-ons. And what is a run-on, Tutor Allen?
yes, so run-ons, on the other hand, results from omitting punctuation between two independent clauses not joined by a conjunction.
So just like the one that you can see on your screen. So storytelling is an art as old as humankind. Currently, there seems to be a renaissance in the art after years of neglect. So here you omitted punctuation. So that is run on. The other one is comma splice. So basically, the run on is almost the same error of that of comma splice. Both shows unfamiliarity of sentence structure. Yet, these errors can still be corrected. So, we can correct run ons or comma splices using four ways. And these are the following. Will you please share to us, Tutor Allen and Tutor Sam?
Yes, the first one is to add a period.
Next, we can also add a semicolon.
The third one is a comma and a coordinating conjunction.
Lastly, we can also add a dependent clause.
So, do not forget these four ways in correcting run ons or comma splices. So, first, adding a period to make two separate sentences. So, here in this example, instead of just writing or putting a comma, you may add a period after your first complete thought or first sentence, and then start a new one and end with a period. And then your error is already corrected, just like the one that you can see on your screen. Another way to correct also is to use a semicolon to join two sentences. So here, will you please read our sample, Tutor Allen?
Yes, so storytelling is an art as old as humankind. Currently, there seems to be a renaissance in the art after years of neglect.
Here in this strategy, take note to only use semicolon when the two sentences express closely related ideas. Don't forget that, our dear student viewers. The third one is by adding a comma and a coordinating conjunction. Okay, so here, will you please read it, Tutor Sam?
Storytelling is an art as old as humankind, and currently there seems to be a renaissance in the art after years of neglect.
So as you can see, you have now the presence of your comma and your coordinating conjunction and. By the way, Tutor Sam and Tutor Allen, are you familiar with fun boys?
Yes.
How about
Yes,
our dear student viewers? Are you familiar with fun boys? If you're
Yes.
familiar with it, will you please enumerate the meaning of each letter in that acronym? Fanboys. And that is a perfect way for us to recall our coordinating conjunctions,
Conjunction.
right? So,
Yes.
what does the acronym coordinating, fanboys means? Ayan. Rose M said yes.
Yes.
Hi, Rose. We have
Yes.
here the answer. Fanboys means for, and,
And
but,
or
or, yet, and so. But we lack N here. But Rose is correct, right? For, and, but, or, yet. So how about letter N in fanboys? If F stands for,
yeah, so we have
A,
answer from Edmar J.
there,
Antonio. Yeah, the nor. For
the
and nor, but
nor.
or yet so. Very good.
Very good. Let's give our student viewers a clap. We also have the answer from Mary Mionson, Daniela Denise Manalili. Ayan. So, the fanboys or the acronym fanboys is a very easy way to remember to recall our coordinating conjunction. So, again, F stands for Tutor Allen,
For
A
and
stands
no,
for Tutor Sam,
and
and N stands for,
nor,
B stands for,
but,
O stands for or, Y stands for yet, and S stands for so. There
so.
you have
so.
it, your coordinating conjunctions.
Conjunctions.
Now, aside from that strategy, you can also correct run-ons by making one of the complete sentences a dependent clause by adding a subordinating
Subordinating
conjunction.
conjunctions.
So just like this. So our original statement goes like this: storytelling is an art as old as humankind. Here you add, or you made the first one a dependent clause by
Dependent
adding a
clause.
subordinate conjunction. And here your subordinating conjunction is the word while.
Wow.
So now this becomes a complete thought, and there is no error now in run-ons. So while storytelling is an art as old as humankind, currently there seems to be a renaissance in the art after years of neglect.
Neglect.
Now, so after now reviewing the common errors in writing a speech, let's recall what you have learned in our session. So, when writing a speech, or another principle of effective speech delivery is indeed grammatical correctness. And for
Correctness
you to have grammatical correctness, what do you need to do? First one on your screen, Tutor Allen.
is to focus on each sentence in your writing.
And the next one, Tutor Sam.
Next, we can achieve grammatical correctness by reviewing our written speech.
And lastly, look for corrections in grammar. So, absolutely, grammar lays the groundwork for effective communication. Improper grammar in writing, right, can likewise affect the meaning and clarity of an intended message. And so, reviewing your written speech and looking for corrections in grammar is one good way of improving the quality of your speech. All right. Now, I think our student viewers are ready
Are
for
ready
our
to
learning
learn?
kamustahan. So now that we're done or we've finished discussing grammatical correctness as a principle in effective speech writing, let's move on to our learning kamustahan. Our student viewers, again, grammatical correctness in writing involves constantly looking and finding and correcting errors. Now, here in our learning kamustahan, find the error and correct its grammar. You only have 3 seconds to think. So very mabilis lang na very quick. Now let's have the first one. Again, find and correct the errors in the following items. Number one, Tutor Sam.
First, we have stress from a job or family commitments makes sleeping difficult for some.
What do you think is the error here? You may
Yeah.
type your answer on your chat box or on your screen. What could be the correct answer here, Tutor Allen?
So the correct answer here is the verb make should be mixed to match the singular subject stress. Yes,
You're
because from a job
correct,
or
Tutor
family
Allen.
commitment is a phrase or yeah, prepositional phrase.
Correct. So you have to cross it out, right? Because your
Yeah.
real subject here is stress.
Also,
Very good, Tutor
congratulations
Allen. Of
to
course, our dear
Eloise,
student.
Marie Eileen
Yes.
Coleman, Jenny Yabot, Mika Lav Andrino, Ronald Betervo, and Josephine Cruz Sunga. Very good, guys.
Now let's have our last item. Tutor Allen.
The second item reads, although some people dream of having their picture taken by a famous photographer, not many had the chance.
Now try to correct the error in grammar here, dear student viewers. What could be the correct answer here? Hmm. Will you please help us out, Tutor Sam?
The error here in this sentence is verb tense consistency.
You're correct. Now, although some people dream of having their picture taken by a famous photographer, not many had a chance. So, if you will try to analyze here, the error here is indeed verb consistency. So, if we will try to correct this one, instead of saying or using the word dream, you may use dreamt, right? Because of you have here also the word had. Or you may say, although some people dream of having their pictures or picture taken by a famous photographer, not many have the chance. So just
Chance.
correct the verb tense
Chance.
consistency. There. So, Tutor Sam,
Never forget,
Nova for
consistency of verb tense means that all actions in the sentence are in the same tense.
hooray, our student viewers! You are indeed oral amazing
Amazing.
students. We certainly hope you were able to answer all the items correctly. And for those who were not able to, Tutor Allen,
I remember constant practice will lead to better results.
our dearest oral amazing students, grammar is very important because it helps us enhance accuracy in writing. This means observing grammar or grammar rules can help writers develop a habit of thinking logically and clearly and will become more accurate in using the language. Now, thank you, our dearest oral amazing students, for your participation. Now, before we end our session this afternoon, we would like to award certificate of recognition to our mini-me tutors that we have right now. So may I read your certificate or the citation in your certificate? DepEd, Information and Communications Technology Services, Certificate of Recognition is presented to Samantha Kate B. Salenga of Parañaque Science High School, SDO Parañaque, and Alan Mark R. De Jesus of Naga City Science High School, SDO Naga City, Camarines Sur, for being an excellent mini-me tutor. During the Itulay Mini-Me in celebration of the National Children's Broadcasting Day for Oral Communication in Context of the school year 2021-2022 conducted by the ICTS Educational Technology Unit. Given this 14th day of December 2021, in DepEd Central Office, Meralco Avenue, Pasig City, signed by yours truly, Tutor Alvin, Tutor Nova, our E2Life project lead, Sir Mark Anthony Hamisal, and of course, the head of the ICTS EdTech Unit, Sir Mark Anthony C. Now, again, thank you very much, our dear student viewers. We hope you learned a lot today. And again, don't forget that proper use of grammar is also a sign of respect both for the speech writer and your listeners, because as a writer, we do not want our listeners to waste time trying to figure out what we are saying. And so, writing with minimal to no error or no errors means that the writer takes time to improve their writing and wishes to leave a good impression to the listeners of his or her speech. Now, see you next Tuesday, Oral Amazing students, for a more thrilling adventure. Always remember to be the best in oral communication in
Communication.
context. Again, I am Tutor Irene.
I'm Tutor Alan.
And I am Tutor Sam.
See you next time here in oral communication in context in E2Lie Live. Goodbye.
Happy holidays!
Happy holidays and thank you, our
Advance
dear
Merry
student
Christmas and
viewers.
Happy New Year!